What do you do when a 30-ton steel monster is rolling toward you and your rifle can't even scratch it? That was the problem soldiers faced in World War II, and the weapons they invented to solve it changed warfare forever. In this video, we're breaking down everything you need to know about anti-tank weapons used in World War II. Germany's 3.7-centimeter PaK-36. At the start of World War II, if you were a German soldier responsible for stopping enemy tanks, your weapon was the 3.7-centimeter PaK-36. It was your main tool, and for a little while, this gun was really good at its job. Think of the PaK-36 as the sports car of anti-tank guns. It was small and light, and you could move it around the battlefield without needing a massive truck to pull it. A few men could actually push it into position by themselves. It was also simple to use and never broke down. When Germany first rolled into Poland, France, and the Low Countries, this little gun was a star. Back then, the tanks it faced had thin armor, kind of like the metal on a car door. The PaK-36's small 37mm shell would punch right through them. It was the perfect weapon for its time. But then, things changed. Germany invaded the Soviet Union, and suddenly the little PaK-36 wasn't facing regular tanks anymore. It was facing monsters. The Russian T-34 tank rolled onto the battlefield, and it was a whole different beast. Its armor was thick and sloped, designed to bounce shots away. German soldiers would fire their trusty PaK-36 at these new Soviet tanks, and nothing would happen. The shell would just clink against the thick steel and bounce off. Imagine the terror they felt. Your one job is to stop a tank, and your best weapon is now useless. The tank just keeps coming toward you. This was so frustrating for the German troops that they gave the PaK-36 a new, sarcastic nickname. They called it the Heeresangriffgerät. That's a complicated German word that means the army door knocker. Why? Because all it was good for was banging on the enemy tank to let the crew inside know you were there. It was a dark joke born from pure desperation. The little gun that started the war as a champion was now completely outclassed. It just couldn't do the job anymore. But its story doesn't end there. Its failure was just a sign of the terrifying new arms race that was about to begin. The 5-centimeter PaK-38. After the door knocker failed so badly, the German army knew it needed something new, and fast. They couldn't send soldiers out to face tanks with a gun that just bounced shells off the enemy. So they went back to the drawing board and came up with the 5-centimeter PaK-38. You can call it the bigger, stronger brother of the little PaK-36. This new gun arrived in 1940, and it was a serious upgrade. The most important change was the size of its shell. Instead of a tiny 37mm round, it fired a bigger 50mm armor-piercing shot. But it wasn't about size alone. The barrel was longer, which forced the shell out at a much higher speed. In simple terms, it hit harder and punched deeper. For some time, this made all the difference. When Germany invaded Russia in 1941, the PaK-38 was one of the best tools they had. It could handle most of the Soviet tanks it met in those early months. It was still light enough for the soldiers to move around and dig into hiding spots, but it packed enough punch to stop an enemy attack. It did good work in the wide-open fields of Russia and even in the deserts of North Africa. But then history repeated itself. The Russians showed up with something new. The T-34 tank, which had made the PaK-36 a joke, was tough. But now came a bigger monster, the KV-1. This thing was a heavy tank, covered in thick, slab-like armor. When a PaK-38 shell hit the front of a KV-1, the shell just couldn't get through. This put the German crews in a dangerous spot. They couldn't just give up. They had to get clever. To take down a KV-1, or even a well-armored T-34, they had to wait until the tank got really close. Then, they had to aim for the weak spots. They would try to hit the tracks to stop it, or wait for it to turn so they could shoot it in the side or the rear, where the armor was thinner. It was a terrifying game of chicken. So the PaK-38 wasn't a perfect weapon. It couldn't solve every problem, but it was a vital bridge. The M1 rocket launcher, Bazooka. While the Germans were busy making their anti-tank guns bigger and heavier, the Americans came up with something completely different. They threw out the rulebook and invented a weapon that let one single soldier turn into a tank hunter. They called it the M1 rocket launcher, but the world would know it by its nickname, the Bazooka. The story of its invention sounds like something from a movie. In 1942, the US had a powerful new type of grenade that could blow a hole through tank armor, but they had no good way to get it to the tank. Throwing it was impossible, and shooting it from a rifle was too weak. Two men, Colonel Skinner and Lieutenant Uhl, were tasked with solving this problem. One day, Uhl was walking past a scrap pile and spotted a long steel tube. He realized it was exactly the same size as the new grenade. His idea was simple. put the tube on a soldier's shoulder, put the rocket inside, and fire it. That scrap tube became the very first bazooka. The bazooka used something called the Monroe effect. The principle was discovered way back in 1888. Instead of just blowing up on the outside of a tank, the bazooka's warhead was shaped like a cone with a hollow space inside. When it hit the armor, the explosive force focused into a super hot, super fast jet of molten metal that literally burned its way through the steel. It could penetrate armor that would stop a normal bullet or shell cold. The Army ordered 5,000 of them immediately, and General Electric built them in record time. But the weapon needed a name. During a demonstration, a general watched it fire and reportedly said, "It sure looks like Bob Burns' bazooka." Bob Burns was a popular radio comedian who played a strange, homemade trombone-like instrument he called a bazooka. The name stuck forever. The bazooka was simple to use. A soldier would load a rocket into the back of the tube, aim, and fire. There was almost no recoil, so it didn't kick like a rifle. It gave American infantry a real chance against German tanks for the first time. The Ordnance QF 17-pounder. While the Americans were giving individual soldiers the power of the bazooka, the British took a different approach. They looked at the massive German tanks like the Tiger and Panther and decided they needed a massive gun to match. They built the Ordnance QF 17-pounder, and many people still call it the best Allied anti-tank gun of the entire war. The British started designing this gun way back in 1940, even before they had seen a Tiger tank. They just had a feeling that German armor would keep getting thicker, and they wanted to be ready. By 1942, they had a working prototype, but they ran into a problem. The gun was ready, but the carriage to tow it around wasn't. Then, in early 1943, German Tiger tanks showed up in North Africa and started causing real trouble. The British didn't have time to wait for the perfect carriage. In a panic, they took the new 17-pounder gun and quickly bolted it onto the carriage of an older 25-pounder field gun. They called this rushed hybrid the 17-25th pounder and gave it the code name Pheasant. They rushed 100 of them to the front lines immediately. When the real 17-pounder finally arrived with its own proper carriage, it was a beast. It weighed over 3 tons and needed a team of 5 or 6 soldiers to operate it, but it packed a serious punch. At its heart was a very long barrel. A longer barrel means the shell has more time to accelerate, so it leaves the gun much faster. This speed gave it incredible penetrating power. With a standard armor-piercing shell, it could punch through about 150 millimeters of steel from a kilometer away. That was enough to handle a Tiger's front armor. But the 17-pounder had a secret weapon. In late 1944, it got a new type of ammunition called APDS, which stands for Armor-Piercing Discarding Sabot. Think of it like this. The gun fired a small, heavy, arrow-like dart wrapped in a lightweight shoe that fell away as soon as it left the barrel. This dart flew at insane speeds and could penetrate over 200 millimeters of armor. This meant the 17-pounder could even knock out the massive King Tiger tanks at close range. This gun was so good that the British found ways to put it on almost everything that moved. Most famously, they squeezed it into the American Sherman tank, creating the Sherman Firefly, the PTRD-41 anti-tank rifle. While the British were building massive towed guns, the Soviets took a different path. They needed something simple and cheap, and something they could build by the hundreds of thousands. The answer was the PTRD-41. Its name is a mouthful, Protivotankovoye Ruzhio Degtyaryova, but it simply means Degtyaryov's anti-tank rifle. The story of its creation is one of desperate speed. When Germany invaded in 1941, Soviet soldiers had almost nothing to stop tanks with. Designer Vasily Degtyaryov was given the job. He reportedly finished the design in just a few weeks. He borrowed ideas from a captured Polish anti-tank rifle and the German PZB-38, then rushed his creation into production. By the end of 1941, factories were churning them out. The PTRD-41 was simple. Brutally, it was a long, heavy bolt-action rifle that fired a massive 14.5mm round. The gun weighed over 17 kilograms, or about 38 pounds, and was over 2 meters long. It wasn't something you carried around easily. It was designed for a 2-man team, 1 shooter and 1 spotter who also carried extra ammunition. When the soldier fired, the whole barrel would slide back inside the stock, which automatically opened the bolt and kicked the empty shell out. This clever system helped absorb some of the massive recoil and let the gunner load the next round faster. At close range, it packed a serious punch. From 100 meters away, the PTRD's bullet could punch through about 35 to 40 millimeters of steel armor. That was plenty to kill the German Panzer II and Panzer III tanks that were swarming across Russia. Soldiers quickly learned to aim for the sides, the tracks, or the engine compartments. They also discovered the gun was incredibly accurate. A skilled shooter could hit a target from 800 meters away. However, the powerful round also kicked up huge clouds of dust when fired, instantly giving away the shooter's position. Crews had to fire and then scramble to a new spot before German machine gunners found them. Firing the PTRD was not for the faint of heart. The recoil was brutal and the muzzle blast was deafening. Soviet soldiers had a dark joke about it. Right shoulder, left shoulder, and back to the motherland with a medal. They meant you'd fire once from each shoulder to spread the pain, and then maybe you'd survive the war. From the tiny door knocker to the massive tank destroyers, the story of World War II anti-tank weapons is really a story of human ingenuity and desperation, showing how quickly the world learned to build better weapons just to survive.